The Bible is basically a collection of stories and writings about events that were written down. We often call it the Holy Bible because it's a special collection of writings that we believe are connected to God. These writings weren't always put together in one book like we have now. A long time ago, they were written on scrolls, kind of like long sheets of paper. Prophets and writers would jot down everything important that happened or was said, and these scrolls were kept separately. Over time, people gathered all these scrolls and decided which ones should be part of the Bible. This process is called canonization, which means choosing the right ones. They looked at each scroll carefully to see if it should be included. They made sure the writings were inspired by God and contained prophecies that came true. This way, they made sure only the best and most important writings became part of the Bible. This is what I want to discuss, and I believe that all the scriptures we have in the Bible are directly inspired by God. God breathed life into these words we have now, making them accurate, consistent, and supportive of each other. The Bible is the most organized and truthful book I've ever encountered. Its prophecies are remarkably accurate, making it a truly inspiring and wonderful book. In the Bible, there's a man named Enoch who was very close to God. If we think Moses wrote Genesis, it means Moses talked about Enoch too. This shows Moses agreed that Enoch was close to God. Enoch walked with God for about 365 years. He had a special bond with God and spent time with him. The Bible mentions that God took him. It's rare to find such stories in the Bible where someone like Moses admits that another person had such a close relationship with God. Moses had a strong connection with God himself, but he's talking about someone else who also walked closely with God, to the point where God took him away. If Enoch were to write a book, it would have to be accepted. Why? Because there's another book that you already accepted that acknowledges Enoch. In the book of Hebrews, if we find mention of Enoch, it suggests that even that part talking about Enoch is inspired. Okay, I want to show you something in the book of Jude. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, "Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints." He foretold about a specific group. If you read the whole chapter, he spoke of a future generation. Enoch predicted a rebellious generation that would emerge, and before they appeared in Jude's time, Enoch had already foreseen them. How would they know about Enoch's prophecies unless they were written down after he spoke them? Jude isn't prophesying. Instead, Jude read a book called the Book of Enoch, which isn't included in the Holy Bible. People had access to the Book of Enoch, which allowed Jude to refer to the prophecies given by Enoch. Enoch warned people about the flood. He told them that a big flood was coming. He had visions of what was to come. In one of these visions, he saw a huge boat, the ark, being built. He also saw the number of people who would be saved from the flood. We can't simply dismiss a scripture stating that someone walked with God and then ignore their teachings, prophecies, or contributions. Jude 1:14 says Enoch mentioned that he prophesied about these individuals and then proceeded to share the prophecies, citing from the Book of Enoch. If you go to the Book of Enoch, you'll find the passage that says, "Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints." He's simply borrowing it from the Book of Enoch and including it in your inspired Bible, taking a verse from a book that is considered uninspired. We have a problem here. I agree that there might be some issues in the book because they might have gathered different scrolls. Sometimes they might end up with a book called the Book of Enoch that wasn't actually written by Enoch and doesn't fit with the rest of the Bible. I think it would have been better if they checked each part of the book separately instead of throwing out the whole thing. For example, with the book of Isaiah, they found another scroll that claimed to be from Isaiah, but it was different from his usual writing style, so they didn't include it. They should have done the same with the Book of Enoch, looking at each part carefully. If something didn't fit, they could have left it out, but not the whole book, especially since it talks about a man who walked with God. I'm not saying we should include every part of his book in the Bible, but there are some things that should have been left out, and others that should have been added. When you read his book, you'll see why it was rejected. He talks in detail about the children of Lucifer and describes things we see today. Some people who were deciding which books to include in the Bible didn't like his detailed descriptions. His prophecies really exposed what the devil was up to. In the Bible, Enoch is a remarkable figure in the Bible, known for his extraordinary departure from earth. He is the great-great-great-great-grandson of Adam and the great-grandfather of Noah. Enoch lived a life of such holiness and faithfulness to God that he did not experience death as others do. Instead, after 365 years, God took him away. This event is briefly mentioned in Genesis 5:24, which simply states, Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more, because God took him away. Enoch is also mentioned in the Hall of Faith in Hebrews 11, where it said, by faith Enoch was taken from this life, so that he did not experience death. His life serves as a testament to the rewards of faithfulness and righteousness. The books of Enoch are ancient texts that talk about a group of angels called the Watchers. First Book of Enoch. This book focuses a lot on the fall of the Watchers. These Watchers were angels sent to earth to look after humans. However, they started desiring human women, and under their leader Samyaza, they left their duties. They taught humans various skills and knowledge like making weapons, cosmetics, and even magic. Their actions led to the birth of the Nephilim, who were violent giants causing chaos on earth. Second Book of Enoch. This book talks about the Watchers who are in the fifth heaven where they originally fell from grace. Third Book of Enoch. This one is about the Watchers who did not fall, the ones who stayed loyal. The term Watchers is used a lot in these texts. The story goes that the Watchers came down to a mountain named Hermon, married human women, and had children called Nephilim. The Nephilim were dangerous giants who harmed the earth. Because of all the trouble caused by the Watchers and the Nephilim, God decided to send a great flood to clean the earth. But before that, God sent an angel named Uriel to warn Noah so he could save the human race. The Watchers who caused all this trouble were punished by being trapped in the earth until the day of judgment. The Book of Enoch and other ancient texts like the Book of Raziel, the Zohar, and Jubilees talk about a group of angels known as the Watchers. These Watchers were originally sent to watch over humans, but ended up teaching them forbidden knowledge and skills. The Book of Enoch provides a more detailed account of these events. It expands on the identity of the sons of God, referring to them as Watchers, and describes their fall from grace due to their relationships with human women. Here's a simple explanation with more details. Arachiel taught humans about the earth's signs. Interestingly, in other texts, he's seen as a good angel leading souls to judgment. Armaros showed humans how to undo spells and enchantments. Azazel introduced weapon making and the crafting of ornaments and cosmetics. Gadriel shared the art of cosmetics and the use of weapons. Barakel educated people on astrology. Bezaliel, mentioned in the texts but often left out due to damaged manuscripts. Chazakiel taught meteorology, which is the study of weather and clouds. Kokabiel. In some texts, he's a high-ranking holy angel, but in others, he's a fallen watcher who teaches astrology. Penemu introduced writing with ink and paper and shared wisdom secrets. Sariel taught about the moon's cycles, which was once considered forbidden knowledge. Samyaza, one of the leaders of the fallen angels. Shamsiel, once a guardian of Eden, he teaches about the sun's signs and leads many angels. Yekon led the Watchers to have relations with humans, with accomplices like Asbiel, Gadriel, Penemu, and Kasdeye. These angels are said to have married human women, which was against the rules set for them, resulting in the birth of the Nephilim, who were giants that caused destruction on earth. The story of the Nephilim and the sons of God is indeed linked to the book of Genesis, specifically in Genesis 6. This passage describes how the sons of God married human women, leading to the birth of the Nephilim, who were the heroes of old, men of renown. Enoch is a significant character in Genesis. He is described as a man who walked faithfully with God. Then he was no more, because God took him away. Chapter 18 talks about the Grigori, who are described as a group of angelic beings that look like humans but are much larger, even bigger than giants. They live in the fifth heaven and are led by a prince named Satanael. They chose to turn away from the Lord of Light, which is another way of saying God. One part of the text, called 2 Enoch, mentions that there were as many as 2 million of these Grigori. Some of them came down to earth, married human women, and did bad things, which led to them being trapped underground. Chapter 29 goes back to the time of creation, before humans were made. It tells a story about an angel, or in some versions, an archangel, who wanted to be as powerful as God. This angel tried to raise his throne above the clouds to show he was equal to God. But God didn't allow this and threw him and his followers out of heaven. They ended up flying continuously above a bottomless pit. Although the name Satanael is not mentioned much in this chapter, it's believed that this story is about him and his followers, the Grigori. If you learned something new today, consider subscribing. Until next time, take care and God bless.